In this session, we're going to add health bar and mono bar. The health bar, yes, take this damage, and the mono bar is responsible for example, when I fire um, the fireball, it decreases and then it has regenerated time, and there's something like that. The player health bar is shown at the top left corner of the screen. But the enemy health bar is usually, for example, is on top of their head, which I'm going to tell you about that later. But now, let's work on the player health bar. Go to your canvas and make another panel. UI panel, and make it panel health. Decrease the size and bring it up here because I want that all of them be shown here. The mana and the health bar. And also duck that. Press Alt and press this so it is anchored here. And move it there. Oh. I want that my health bar to be 4 grids. 4 of the 128, that is 512. And this thick, 128. For example, I want that that would be 412 in 128. Okay. Something that is rounded here. So I say, for example, no. 50 here. 50 here. Or I can increase that. And the color be, let's go there. Make it kind of brown. Oh, that's ugly. And then I want that another layer. I have something like, or I can duplicate that. And make it red. And let me duplicate it. Rasterize layer. And then I go to this tool and select this. And on here, and I also select rasterize layer, Control X. Okay, something like this. And the health bar, for example, is showing like this. And also, I want to have a mana. Like a mana bar, which is like this. So as I don't want to bring 2 pictures, which because mana is blue, then I make it white. So in the Unity, I can, for example, once make it red and once make it blue. So I wouldn't bring two pictures, which is red and blue. Just bring it there, one picture, and change the color later. So this is my bar, and I can export them as one sprite, or I can export them individually. And I brought them here. Let's fix their PPU. And this panel, I make it transparent. Oh, it was not there. This one. I just know that, okay, that this exists there and is holding my slider. And now, on panel health, go to UI, slider, I make it big, and remove this thing. For example, this one. Um, um, Let me see. You see that it goes to half. To fix that, you can go to fill area and make this parameter 0, 0, and also for the 0, 0, and make sure that it is stretched, and fill area is this stretched, and it works just fine. So you might not like this slider, just wanted to show you that you can use this, but we want to use our own slider. So first bring your border here, or let's make an image and bring it here. Oh, not here. There. Because if you directly bring your image here, it would be a sprite renderer, but you want an image, which is for the UI, and set native size. And here, make a empty game object and try to make its size to fill this area. Do you see that there is some, white thing? So that's the thing. Let's do this. It's better that you do that by this tool. The height is this. And let me call it, for example, PG, and duplicate that. And may say, for example, red or fill, whatever. And add image component. Make it red. The red should goes back. Set this stretch, press Alt. Make it a stretch, okay. And everything is ready. Then on the health bar, add a slider. Intractable, no. Transition, none. Navigation to none. And for the fill, just add the red. Okay? Then this is our slider. If you think that your slider is weird, for example, big or something, it means that when you wanted to rescale it, you have used this tool, which you do not use that because we don't want to change the scale. If you want to correct, for example, the size or anything in the UI, it's better that you directly change with the width and height and don't change the scale with this tool. So don't use for For example, don't use this. Change this and this. Um, so if you do everything right, it would work like this. So when the value is 0, if it's nothing, for example, as I increase the value, it changes like this. If you have a slider that you want to, for example, you put on the right and top bottom, then you have to change to right to left, and it will feel like this. Yes, and you have to correct that. But I want that it will be ref left to right. I will select this. If you have multiple of them, then you have to use this tool. That's fine. And increase the size to something that you feel it's good. For example, up to here. But if you don't like that this is too flat, then you can go to your Photoshop, select this and give it a stain, 90%, and play with these values. For example, how much you want it to be, the size. So make it some kind of 3D. And then export that and bring it into project. And instead of go to health bar and in the red, select this and put it here. Now let's go to coding. In the script player, you can make a folder like health. Create C# and say player health bar and open that. Here in the code, first you want to have access to this slider because I'm going to give this one to the player. So drag and drop that to the player, and now we have this. And say serialized field, private, slider, then go to, because the UI you have to use that, slider, and health slider, or just a slider. Not only that you want that, but also, if you go there, we want to have access to the value, the mean value, the max value, which is here is 1, and also, for example, player loses health. So I call this, that is in the maximum, I call it maximum health, and everything that would change would, for example, be current health. So I say private int max health value and private int current health value. At first, for example, I want to give the health of 50, something like that. So it means that if it is 1 here, and the maximum value that is 1, it equals to 50 here. I can change it, for example, to 200. It means that the value is 1. And everything that changes is, this is equal to that. Okay? How to connect them, how to say that this is equal to this. In the start function, I say slider dot max value. Slider that max value means this one is equal to this value. Okay. And then I want that the value that is returning to me is this. And okay, let's say at the when the game is started, I want that the current value be equal to health value. So I say current health value is equal to max. It means that the player has the maximum value and it didn't take any damages. Okay. Then I say a slider that's value is equal to current value, uh, health value. Okay. It means that everything that later is going to show me in the game here, it is related to this, which at first it is 200, but imagine that um, after it takes damages, we want that the value that is here be equal to the um, the current health that maybe, for example, take damages or something like that. So we set it here. Now we go to the player, we see that, okay, the slider, which is slider? We say this, okay? To test that it works, I say that in each frame, for example, lose one health. And also show me this. And let the code to compile. You see that is losing health. So the code is connected to the health bar. Now we don't need this. Now let's write a function that is, I want to make it public so other codes like enemy can have access to that. Public void, for example, take damage and int damage. In the previous course, I have taught you that. Okay, so for example, in other code, the enemy says, okay, get this component because even the script is a component and access to that. And for example, enemy 1 take 5 damage, enemy 2 takes 6 damage. Okay, so now I say current health value minus equal to damage. So that would decrease that. And then show that. All right. And as you saw, that's it just decreases the damage. For example, it becomes minus. For example, I have 200, and it decreases in a way that, for example, it becomes minus, which is not logical. The player should have a minimum health of 0, and when a player current health is 0, it should die. So I say if current health value, for example, let's say if it is more than 0, for example, you can add audio for hurting and something like that, which we later are going to add that. Else, it means that it's just it becomes equal or less than 0. Then we need a function like die or death. And I'm going to write that. So that is the private void death. And something would happen. For example, the player show the death animation and also sound of death, and then a new screen comes and say, okay, do you want to continue or you don't, you just want to go to main menu, something like that. For now, I just say debug dot log so death. So to test that, do you remember that we had practice dummy here? And let's go. It also had take damage. It is for himself, not for the player. So now we want to say, for example, if my player collides to this, it loses 10 damage. And for example, say on collision, enter 2D, if collision that game object dot compare tag and our player had the tag of, oh, it's not tagged, so let's go here and add a tag player. So if it collided with that, with the player, then we say, so we want to get the player, okay? So the collision is actually the, no, it is the player, and say collision dot game object dot get component of the health player. This player health bar, player health bar dot take damage. How many? For example, 10. That's why we made it public, so other codes can have access to that, and this is the damage. So 10, current health minus 10. All right? Oh, I said exit 2D. I mean, I wanted enter 2D. So on collision, enter 2D, and then add that here. I'm sorry, just. So let's save the code and see what would happen inside the game. So I have maximum value of the health. I go to this, and you see, I'm losing health as I enter to him, and I'm gonna take damage from him. And let's do that because I have to enter. And you see here, player death. Oh, let me just, which is that? Here I have add death animation. Oh, I select this, okay. And on the player parameters, trigger death, which is here. Okay, this to this, and one death, and it has no exit time. It just dies. It doesn't return to idle, and it just stays in that position. So now that we have that, let's go to here, private animator anim is get component animator, and then here instead of that we say anim the set trigger, what was in it? I think it was death. Because I don't want to wait a lot, I just make that it takes 50. So I enter that twice and it will die. So now we are here. You go there, 1. Okay, now the death animation is shown, but you can go there and again it just happens, that is weird. So we have to do something about it, if it is alive or not. So if the bull is alive At first, it's true. And in take damage, we say if is alive. If it is not alive, then return. It means that if the player is dead, then do not execute the rest of the code. Just return. And here, as it dies, I say is alive is false. So when I play the game, when I go there and die, I don't die again. Okay, so that problem, dying again and taking damages when I'm done, when I'm dead, then that problem is fixed. But we have to do something about this weird movement. So we go to player movement and get that code. Here I say private player health bar. For example, player health. And although this is a script, but this is a component of the player, which is this. And as I want to get component on the same game object, then I say player health is equal to get component player health. Then I can have access to those things that are public, like this one is alive. Then here I say if player health that this means that it is not alive, then return and do not execute this code, so it wouldn't move. And I also add that one here on jump here on fixed update here. These are called on jump, so that is enough that I put there and there and this. There are different approaches that you can implement, but one of them is the one that I've showed you. Now if I test the game, okay, I can't move, but if I press attack, it will just wake up. So because I have to also go to the player attack and add those codes. I have this player attack, this. On melee, on fire. Yeah, that's it. Now let's try it. Now, even the UI, all of them doesn't work because I'm dead, okay? So now, for example, I can say if the player is dead, then a screen shows here and say the end, or do you want to go to the main menu and something like that, which I'm not going to add it right now. Later, when you want to, for example, add all the UIs like the main menu, something like that, then we will add that. But for now, that is fine. Now we want to add the mana. So go to health bar. The health bar itself, no, this one. This one is in the middle, make it go to the top. And duplicate that. This is mana bar. this one, the red, should be blue. And change the color to some, I think that's good. And the mana bar should be here. And like this. And I want to make it a little bit smaller. And add it here. Something like this. And let's go to player. Script, player. Health and mana, let them be together because they're the same type. And player mana bar, give that to this, no, give it to the player. Let's open it. It's exactly like that. So here it is, instead of health I say mana. Health is mana. But you write the code again. Copy pasting prevents you from learning. But for this tutorial, as I want to be faster, I just do this. Slider that's max value is max mana. And my current mana is equal to this. Slider that value is this. Okay, so up to that point they're very similar, and I want to make the mana as something different. I can make it serializable and change it in the inspector. So I have this. Now I want to have a function that is private void consume mana. It's like taking damage, but not from the enemy, but from the player itself. And he, for example, cast fire spell. Okay. Then, like before, I say if current mana value is more than 0, then you're allowed to, for example, you say minus current value minus equal to value. And don't forget to add the reference. Then you say a slider dot value. Okay, it's just this. But, there is a little bit of problem because, for example, it's you have 300 mana, and imagine that you have 10 mana left. Then you have 20 manas of, let me just write that, it doesn't have any meaning. So imagine that your current mana is 20, okay, and the value is 30 per firing the spell. Now that would be minus 10 mana. For health, there was no problem because, okay, say you die. But for this, as you want to again regenerate the mana, then that would create problem. And it would really linger the time for the mana to be generated again. So I want to prevent it from getting below the 0. Okay, so that's why we can use something like method.clamp. Okay, so I say current mana value equals to math f dot clamp. Then I say this value can at least be 0. Usually it cannot go below the 0. And you can say, okay, the max value can be this one, and it shouldn't go above that. I want to make it public because I want that other codes be able to use that. We have in the player attack. We also want private player mana bar player mana, and we say that yes, whenever that I shoot a fire, I want to be able to use that. Here I can make a variable private int mana amount. It means the amount of the mana that the player need to shoot a fire. Imagine that it is 10. You can make it serializable and change that. Okay, that is the mana amount. Then I go to on fire. Okay, if it is dead, then do that. Then also say check if we have enough amount of mana that it should be more than 10, so the player can fire again. But if the mana is 5, it should not allow the player to fire because it needs at least 10 mana. So we say if player mana dot I think it was current, but I didn't make it public. So make it public. And we go to player attack. Dot current mana value is equal to, what was that? Mana amount. Then do not execute the code. Return. Otherwise, if it has enough of that, then the rest of the code is executed, and we also need to call this function to consume that. So we say player mana that consume mana by mana amount. So for example, it has 20 manas, then you fire, and this method is executed. Okay, say 20 is more than 10, then it is executed, but it takes 10 mana, and so we have other 10 left. So it can shoot again, but when it gets 0, then it cannot shoot again, and it has to return. So we have something like this, and let's go and check if it is working. I forgot to bring it here. It was this current mono value. Yes, it is public, but as it is, because of this, it is public, it is shown here, not because this is serialized. Because those things that are public, they also are shown here. But don't change that, just, it's not important. So, wait, whenever I left click, there's something problem with that. But yes, it is working, and it is 0, and it doesn't shoot again. But as you saw, that it wasn't really. I have to play it here. It's only after the cooldown time it would work. It solved the problem, but there is another problem, which is, okay, I shoot. For example, it's, I have to do that. Let me increase the mono amount to, for example, what was the 13? That was too much. Make it this and this. So I can faster show you the result. So I shoot it, and then here, as now I only have 20 left, it doesn't shoot because I need 40, so it doesn't shoot again. But this is not good because the mana have to be regenerated. So we add that function. But we don't want to, for example, in the update, we don't want to check it every frame and add to the amount of the mana if it is less than, for example, 100. Because sometimes maybe it doesn't even use that, or that is very, very costing a lot for the Unity to calculate that. So instead of checking for every frame that it has to add regenerating mana number, we do something else. So we go here and say private void regenerate mana. Here we check if current mana is less than max mana. It means that we have fired something and we have used the mana. So we have to make it to come again to this mana value. And also I want to say private int how much mana should be added each frame or each second, depending on which approach you want to choose. And we say regenerate rate, example 2. So you want to say, okay, just add current mana value with regenerate rate. But if I say something like this, for example, imagine that this is 98 plus 2, it will be 100, and then it continues 102. So that would be even more than max value. So again, use math.clamp. So it would be at least 0, and the maximum value would be this. So it continues in a way that it matches to this number and doesn't exceed from this number. So here I say that current, what happened? So I delete that. Oh. Is equal to math.clamp. And I say, okay, whatever that the mana is already, plus the regenerate rate, okay, add to that, minimum 0, maximum max mana value. So that would be equal to this, with something that I have written before, but with this condition, that it shouldn't exceed from that and not lower than this. And then we have to again do this. You can add, for example, check for null, but we don't do that because, I don't know, we can check for null, so if we didn't give you error, and we always have to be careful that you assign that to the inspector, the slider. The function doesn't call itself unless that it is in the update or start or other things that, for example, automatically are called. So I have to, so if I say, write something like this, it is not called anywhere. So I bring it here and save this. And I'll show you why this is not efficient, because every frame it has to check this. But let's see how it works, and then we'll fix that. So now this, oh, that's too fast. You can increase that to one. So two would be something in front of that, you know? And player attack amount mana is 400. Or you could decrease this number. But as I use integer, I need to use whole number. So let's test it. It wasn't. Ah, okay. My PC is a little bit buggy, so maybe it shows weird things. Okay. So one, two. You see that? This is regenerating itself. But it has to be in a way that it makes sense in a game. Yes, for the cooldown, it's kind of equal to the amount that it reaches here. So just play with the numbers so that it would make the game a little bit harder. So, it is not efficient because it's check that every frame. You can use, for example, some events system to check that, but this is not beginner friendly, so we use the cooldown. For example, we say um, private int reg time is, for example, every second I want that it checks that. And I have private int timer. So here, the something like we had before for the cooldown. Timer equal plus the time, that's delta time. What? Oh, this is floats? Oh, that's to be floats. Okay, something like this. And I say if timer, yes, is more or equal to break time or the cooldown, something like that, then you're allowed to do that. So in this way, only each second it is allowed to call this function. And then after it does that, it becomes a timer becomes 0. Because if I don't say that, okay, that would be 1, 2, more than that, and 3. Of course, it is more than this, and always it is executed. But I return this to that. So it again gradually becomes 1, and this condition be true, and this is executed. So now that is more efficient for the game. Hmm. Let's see why it is not working. Or maybe 2 is not that much. Yeah, the problem was that 2 was too low. For example, this is 1000, and if it was to 2, we didn't see anything. In order to see better, I increase the regenerate rate to 40, and then we check that. So we see that every second 40 is added, 40 mono added. And this is not executed because this is less than the amount for firing. We wait, and then we see that. And when I press the fire button, it wouldn't consume, and it doesn't go below 0. So, like this. And I think that's for it for today. So practice this and make these things, and we will add other things in the next session.